nice to have you all here again this morning. And this session, we are trying to look at the future of faith-based films, because myself and Moses, we meet at the American film market for years now. We go there, and as big as the AFM is, the faith-based producers or following is quite massive. They have their own dedicated sessions, and beyond that, the genre, as far as theatrical release is concerned in America, I think it's like the third biggest in Hollywood. So we've been having that conversation to say there are people in Nigeria who will never go to cinema to watch normal films. But these guys also consume these other films when they find it on DVD, maybe on the roadside. And we strongly believe that there is a demographic or a group of people who are being underserved, or rather not being served at all. Now, some producers have, Blessing supposed to be here with us. She did 10 Virgins recently, that was released last month. And the experience from my conversation, I had a long conversation with her, and the experience for 10 Virgins wasn't just, good at all. And she attributed it to a combination of factors, including not getting support from the faith-based community, as it were, because you would think that maybe churches will support in pushing, right? But that didn't happen. And so Biodun here, she also released a movie, and Moses is a distributor come exhibitor. I want to understand, is it that there's a potential for people to make money and nobody's paying attention? Because our conversations here is all about making money, right? Genres that are successful. I'm sure some of us seated here would have watched some American movies, Fireproof My Marriage, War Room was so successful, right? Miracle from Heaven. And I watched recently Breakthrough. Breakthrough was released earlier this year, and I saw that movie, and it was really fantastic. So that tells us that there is an opportunity there. And is it that we are not paying attention as producers, or is it that producers like Blessing and Biodun are not getting the right support that they need for people to really, because there are some, I know a distribution company in America, I see them every time at AFM in Cannes, and the only thing they distribute is faith-based. All their catalog is faith-based, and that also says something that tells us a lot. So I'm going to start with you, Moses. I want you to give a background from what you've seen. Can we just juxtapose what we have seen in America? All right? Because we're also very religious here, isn't it? Yes. So what's the issues, or rather, what are the challenges and limitations that we're having in that genre?
Thank you, Ijoma. Good morning, and it's great to see everyone here on the third day. And thank you so much for the participation. I think it's commendable. I know some have paid a lot of money, some are guests. I mean, to be out here and gaining knowledge and contributing. Thank you so much. And it's been a lot of learning, for us. Ijoma, I would answer the question, or I'll try and share or give my opinion on the question. But I really love a situation after we've had maybe just a short session to also hear from the audience, because it will be great to learn what their take is on this sector, because quite honestly, and it will lead me into my own opinion of it, we've not been able to figure out, what the issue is. If you just look at Lagos alone and its landscape, and permit me to almost, maybe put faith-based movies into a box of that kind of sits well with the Pentecostal movement a lot more. If you even look at what's going on in America, it's a lot more the Pentecostals that are pushing, that agenda, and have almost come together, and accepted that, we will support, this genre of films, and they will be successful. TD Jakes, for example, has a production company, you know, and has pushed that, and there's an agenda to ensure that, you know, the voice of the church, you know, would also, you know, resonate and will be heard even in mainstream and entertainment. You know, so there's a deliberate policy. So there are things to talk about. You know, you talk about juxtaposing. So there's a conscious effort. There's also something about even Christianity as a whole in the U.S. and the consciousness of, you know what, maybe not even seen as faith-based, seeing it as entertainment generally. So it's difficult to kind of compare to ours, where under the guise of being very religious, you know, we have an issue with going to the cinema, you know, to watch a film, mingling with unbelievers. You know, we have a lot of that issue. But I will summarize what I think, you know, some issues. This is something very, you know, dear to my heart. You know, over the last 18, 24 months, I've been asking, you know, I grew up, you know, in the faith. I told people here last year, yeah, I grew up in Deeper Life. You know, my father is a Deeper Life pastor. And for a long time, I've been asking God for what my purpose is, you know, doing this, finding myself in this career, in this job, and making a modest success of it, I hope. You know, judging by some feedback yesterday, maybe contentious as well. But beyond just, you know, the cinema growth and, you know, attendance growth, what impact, you know, am I making as, you know, a believer? And I felt that this faith-based, you know, conversation I needed to play more of a role, you know, in ensuring that, you know, at least for and please, my apologies to those that are not, you know, Christians or anything. I'm just speaking, you know, passionately and personally. I needed to play more of a role, and it dawned on me that there's a real opportunity to use the platform, you know, to really project the gospel, you know, as it were, you know, in through our cinemas and through the platform that we have. Unfortunately, just working practically with the film Breakthrough, which we released with our partnership, we distributed okay. Breakthrough. My colleague here, Mimi, is here, and Fox decided to invest in Breakthrough because of the success they've seen with Sony, working with the Kendrick brothers, who did War Room. And I believe they are the ones that have come up with Overcomer now. That's coming out very soon. Yes. And Fox decided to go into that. And in fact, Fox have had a very dismal year. And the only profitable film out of 3 films is Breakthrough. Wow. Based on the budget they spent on it. And Breakthrough was such a powerful movie. But let me just summarize. Our findings were, 1, it seems as though our competition is with the church in terms of audience, in terms of people. The churches preferred you to bring the film to the church as opposed to telling their congregation to go sit in cinema. And, you know, so that's something that, can you condemn that? You can't. I mean, you know, that's their preference. You know, so it also opens up things about, you know, can this be viably done as a business concern? There's so many issues. So we found that as an issue. We also found an issue of, you know, because of that, it was hard to get it endorsed by a number of the ministers. Because a lot of these things will be opinion leader, you know, or opinion influencer driven. In the US, a lot of these pastors will come together and will actually endorse and encourage their members to go and watch. So that became an issue for, barring one pastor, I have to call his name here, amazing pastor, Pastor Goke of House on the Rock. I have to give it to him with no kind of like, oh, sir, here's a gift, he was at Ikeja City Mall, he was at Lekki, he watched the film by himself, and he was selflessly promoting. You know, and trust me, we engaged big name pastors. We wanted them to see it for free. Mimi, am I lying? For free, you know, private screenings. See, let's push this thing. and we got one excuse or the other. It's not available here, it's not available there. With some, we even gave free advertising, for their conventions or their programs. So it makes you just wonder what the mindset is, what we could be doing more in trying to, I don't know whether it's educate, on trying to kind of broaden their mind on how we can make an impact with the church, outside of the church, if that makes sense. How we can make an impact as a church movement, outside of the church.
Outside the walls of the church.
Outside the walls of the church. Like a faith-based movie doing well in the cinema is a statement. And those are the kind of things that we need to make. So I don't know whether I answer your question directly, but those are the kind of challenges working. That was my first experience releasing something I was very passionate about. And we've spoken about also doing something that is of Nigerian, and my brother, my friend Bibi, did God Calling. Very, very well made film. I think for what it was a relative success. Could have been better, could have been more. But it also gave us an indication of what was possible. That film made about 40 million. 40,000 people went to cinema to watch it. I felt they made some mistakes here and there around the distribution. Because again, like I said, that competition between church and cinema came up. So in essence, you started diluting that cinema window. So when the film came out, on the opening weekend, it was in cinemas. And on the opening weekend, it was showing in some churches. So the church numbers, and for churches, would have been subsidized. Those church numbers would have, kind of eroded the numbers you would have used in box office. And so these are some of the...
Was the church opening free? Sorry.
So some of the churches were a flat license fee.
Okay.
To a screening fee, as it were. So I think it's also understanding, again, like we said, and getting an education of how this thing works as a business. And whilst business is very important, and the message we want to pass across, I think getting that balance would always be an evolving discussion. Trust me, as well as established as the US is, I think they're also having evolving discussions. But what they've done successfully is that US studios are looking at faith-based movies intently, particularly because the stories that they know, and they're just recycling them. But with faith-based, they have an opportunity to tell different kind of stories. So that would be my kind of
I'll come back to
holistic
view. Thank you. Yodu, give us your own holistic view as a producer using the faith-based film you produced. Was this year?
Yes.
Yes, and also, in comparison to what Moses as a distributor or exhibitor just said to us.
Good morning, everybody. I think that my first faith-based film was called Glimpse, and it was made for TV. And that was what really gingered me with Joba. So when we did Glimpse, the reception was so powerful. People calling and reaching out, how impactful, how blessed they were, with the film. So when I did Joba, I was convinced that this is Smashbox. I was going to make money.
Okay.
I was so sure that the church was going to be behind me. My church was behind me, because I do recall that my pastor stood on the pulpit and said, everybody, you must all, as a matter of fact, go and see this film, because this is an amazing. But I cannot even say I recorded the success that God Calling recorded. No. Till today, we are begging for church screenings. Yes. We've screened outside of this country. We've screened in South Africa. We're screening in London. But here, outside of the cinema, no church. It's either they're asking you, who is your pastor and all of this. Now, I'm a proud CAC. So, die by fire, you will hear it inside. I'm influenced, my writing is influenced by my experiences. So I'm not going to shy away from things like that. But you cannot judge me because this is the church I'm coming from. So the few people who went, watched it, they were blessed. Coming to cinema, I remember that when I had the idea and I'd done the script, and I spoke to Moses and I said, and I was so encouraged by his gusto of whenever this film is ready, we want it. But I also recall that there was a certain cinema on my first release day. They gave me one show, 11 a.m. And that was it. I sat on the floor and I was crying. I made such a scene that they said, okay, we'll give you 4 p.m. I don't understand. You have killed the film. Before, give it a chance. Give me my opening weekend. If it fails, then do whatever you want. But don't kill my film from the get-go. This cinema is not film one, please, because you in case it's not them. It's not them. They gave me a good time for a month. They stood by me. My distributors stood by. But this cinema, which is where you supposedly make
your money,
a lot of money. They give you 11 a.m. They knew me that day because I was like, are you kidding me? I was crying. I went knocking every door, changed the time. And they gave me only 4 p.m. for that day. And I'm saying, number one, this is a film that the youth that we have now, whether we like it or not, most of them it's not something they will gravitate towards immediately. The people who have the earning power, who have, who would want to come and see this, are working class. They will not come during lunch break. They will only come from 6. If you're taking away that privilege, I remember many people who said, oh, I was in the cinema, I didn't get to see the film. I know people, in fact, we went out of the way to print tickets and said, okay, let me start pre-selling the tickets just to ensure that people will go see it. And we sold a lot of tickets, but half of them didn't get to see the film because the timing was not good. So there's a lot of right now. What I console myself is in: did we make a good film? Yes. Did we tell an amazing and impactful story? Yes. And in that, I will find comfort. But in terms of money spent, work done, going up and down, and getting value for that, no. And then you ask yourself, how does a seemingly religious country, where there's a crusade, we are there, we are praying, and there's 1 million churches on the streets, and every Sunday it is prayer all over the place. Why is it difficult for us to sell this content to these people? Why are you asking me what my faith is? We tried to, with the first film, when I decided I wanted to start telling faith-based stories, I had to understand what was the issue with Mount Zion, which were the preceding, our elders in this stuff. So I watched some of them and I said, okay, no, this is the kind of Christianity I practice. I mean, I'm a Christian, but I still like to have a good time. I still hug my husband, I kiss my husband, I don't call my husband sir. So all of those things, and I want to tell a contemporary story that a lot of us who are Christians will relate. So we kind of ticked all those boxes, made the film more attractive, and you are not going to say, oh, it's only for the head covering, no jewelry wearing. And also we told a story that take out Christianity, any other religion, whether it is Shango, because it's about faith, really. It's about the power of faith. So take that out of it. Take out whether it's Christianity. Take anything would work. It is a human angle story, just laced with faith. So there was nothing, and at that time that my film came out, the challenges are multi-layered. My film came out also at the time with Breakthrough. So if there were 2 faith-based movies in the cinema, why was my film not doing well? It also begins to, you also begin to question what is the mentality of the audience. Why do you think this American Christian film is a better option to this Nigerian Christian film? Why? So the challenges were multi-layered. But like I said, in the impact of the film, I take comfort.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Speaking so passionately, filmmakers, they go through a lot to make films. And expectations are high. I'm sure the reason why you're even taking comfort is because you didn't borrow money, maybe you didn't get an investor. Yeah.
Out of pocket, everything.
So that's half of your problem is almost like solved, because if you had to collect money from someone or you borrowed money from a bank, I don't know if you'll be sitting here today. Not. Yes, because of the pressure that you will be under to make sure that you recoup this money. So, and it's very interesting for us to also, I'm going to go to the audience very soon, understand what, like you said, what does the audience want? Is it that Hollywood films, Breakthrough was produced by a US studio, right? Fox Studios, and represented here in Nigeria by Film One Distribution. Is it a question of, oh, we have no confidence in our local producers, right? And that they're not able to deliver in terms of quality or in terms of storyline what is coming from Hollywood? So, Moses, I would want you to address that.
Okay, so I also have to, speak for Bill, and I have to congratulate her on the how do I say it, the tenacity, resilience, boldness, audacity, to go for Joba. And I read the script, and I thought it was powerful. And this, by the way, this is the writer of Picture Perfect. Anybody seen Picture Perfect? Picture Perfect. Right hand, did you direct that as well? Produced and wrote The Visit. The Visit. So, that's that. This Netflix is on Netflix, by the way. So this is a talented, filmmaker. By every sense of the word, people that have perfected how to, write following the Nollywood economics, but impact. So I think it. I celebrate her and what she's done. But look, the reality we face and continually face is, during the time Joba was also released, there was a sense of audience apathy in terms of the floodroom of films coming into the cinema at the time. And I'm not one to easily criticize this, because again, it's just as a result of the previous year's success. So when you hear the numbers of Chief Daddy, King of Boys, Merry Men, back to back to back, and they're facing Hollywood competition as well. Do they have two heads? Why can't I go make my own film? And just before that, Vendor. Why can't I go make my own film? And what then happens is, look, I will shoot my film, and I would hopefully get a chance, and I'll make money. And like I said, and I've said to everyone, we need to treat this evolution or transition very, very delicately. Because, and it's sad that, people would lose money in the instance. Things will happen. It will give the industry some kind of reputation. But it might need to happen, to take us to the next level. Because forums like this will share more information on how to do it better. So I feel like, that happened, and therefore, consciously or unconsciously, our audiences, would prefer Hollywood. And Hollywood started very strongly in this year. So a film like What Men Want, we've never seen it, like where almost like a romantic drama does over 100 million. And that was during, election period. Even a sci-fi film like Alita did over 100 million. Aquaman was still doing strong, as of February. So, and unfortunately, what was then coming out, from Nollywood wasn't as strong. And then as you're going, and if you recollect, we on the CAA website, if you look at all the box office data coming out, it was really bleak for a lot of Nollywood films. So when we then got to the release Breakthrough, and Building is right, Breakthrough and Joba, I think they were about 1 week or 2 weeks apart. 2 weeks apart. It was important for us representing Fox to release the film day and date with the US because of a piracy risk. What would have been great to do would have maybe to space it out a little bit and give all the support to Joba as we can as an industry.
So are you accepting responsibility here?
Look, I'm trying to be honest, and like I like to look at things contextually, like and so that, because for the benefit of the audience, but also let them see some of the challenges we face making decisions as well. So your studio that you represent, that is a slate of films that accounts for a good portion of your business, wanting something, and there is a film with potential. You've got to also look at it that a week apart, the audience size that we're even targeting is big enough, is large enough. So on a good day, if we're also fair, to the film itself, there should be a chance. Okay. But what then happened, like I said, just to wrap it up, was that because of that, of the slate of films coming from Nollywood that were not great, the perception towards Nigerian film generally, and it's still happening now, you're having to work twice as hard you know, to get your film to stand out. And unfortunately, the Hollywood films are really, they've had a higher share of audience favorites, not necessarily critically well-reviewed films, but films that are audience favorites with Nigerians, particularly. Example, X-Men. X-Men was panned everywhere. X-Men is almost 100 million in Nigeria. It's going to be top 10, top 12. You know, example, okay, Lion King is a global success, but it was modest reviews. But Lion King is in its 7th, 8th week in top 5. You know, you can go on and on, ups and Shaw. Spider-Man is still showing. You know, so Hollywood has had a very resilient year. You know, we think it would all get better, but look, it's not that. So I think that what then happened was, just comparing and looking at it, Joba was not probably first, second, or third choice with that competition that was going on. I think it was released April 5, yes, right? And you had Avengers coming out April 26. So by the time it's on first 2 weeks, even if the word of mouth was strong, I spoke to one of the actors in the film. He had, after shooting the film, that's how you know the film was powerful. He had an experience. Blossom Chukwujeku. Yes. He had a personal experience, you know, playing the role of the character. That's how powerful the film was. You know, for him. It's unfortunate we're talking passionately about it now and there's no, you know, not a lot of revenues going in. But, you know, you know, but these are some of the things that happen. So it was not top of mind. Okay. And this is why, if there's any lessons to be learned, and to say to Biodun and filmmakers here, I've said it and I've said it repeatedly, you've got to see your film going into cinema as an event, as a project that requires a lot of effort beyond you shooting the film. A lot of effort packaging and positioning to be like, I'm going to see a stage play. I'm going to see something that will take my money and it will be worth it. It cannot be just seen like, oh, I'm just going to place it there and we'll see what goes. Honestly, filmmakers, I appeal to you, faith-based or non-faith-based. Your film releases, check it anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, these things are meticulously planned, far in advance. You know, you are not releasing 1 or 2 teasers. You are releasing multiple trailers. You are having events. You are having press rounds. You know, you are having stakeholder screenings. You are. It's not. You know, when people tell me they want to make 2-3 films a year, I'm like, are you sure? Some people can do it, but it's tough. So for you to come out in the cinema, it's got to be that. So if there's any feedback on that, it had to be that. Breakthrough had a global campaign that, you know, it benefited from.
That it was a studio release. Was global.
Global. So if you look at it, it's all those things that you're competing with regularly. And that's why, in spite of all this that I say and that maybe might be difficult for the young filmmaker, you have to celebrate what we've done as an industry. You know, with all those challenges, because I'm saying, oh, you know, painstakingly prepare and everything. It's expensive. It's not easy. So we having to fight all of that and now grow an audience that also respect and like our films, we've done well. But the challenges continue to evolve and they continue to get bigger. So we just need to prepare for them. So that would be my.
You want to respond to that?
There's just something that he said about the flow of the influx of not so good Nollywood movies. And I recall in 2017 when I released
Can we have the volume of this mic?
When I released Picture Perfect, you know, the begging, trying to cajole people to watch it, you know, and then a follow-up of that with, you know, a lot of good TV movies. I thought, okay, we had built this brand such that when we are ready to go back to the cinema 2 years after, the conversation will get easier. But it did not. We went right back to 2017, having to beg, having to cajole, having to, you know, and that was because, and every time you spoke to a consumer and said, please go and watch my film. Which film? What do you do? This how I watch this one. This how I watch this one. So, you know, and those things just make your job. This is not a shade. It just makes your job difficult because when you've spent so much time trying to sell this your own good film, and some other films have come to scatter the place. You are going right back to begging. So yes, I do agree that during that time, there were also some, there have been some releases of some Nollywood films that, not for lack of great quality, but maybe questionable content.
Yeah, okay.
And that also had an impact on Joba.
Release. I think, yesterday we heard from the chairman of Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria and the Distribution Association that they're trying to work together because all these things are vicious cycle, right? It's impacting negatively on people who don't have business with doing bad films, right? So to see, because we talked about quality, how are you guys regulating what goes to the cinema? And we also said 2 days ago during the first session that distributors should be able to say no. You can't please everybody. There are some films that are made for television. They don't have any business going to cinemas. Sometimes when I see some films, I've gone a couple of times to see Nigerian films. With the kind of exposure I've had going to markets, going to events, I really sit down and ask myself, are we really serious? I'm not a filmmaker, I'm not a producer, but I've had to ask myself that question. Is this what cinema is about? Right? Is this the kind of films that we see? Or maybe this is the level where we find ourselves. I'd rather not do something than just, reduce myself to a mediocre. Let it be that I'm doing it for the sake of, for the sake of doing it. So I think it's very important for the exhibitors and the distributors to really sit up on that aspect of regulating what goes into the cinemas. Politely telling people that, listen, in all honesty, don't spend this money, right, in P&A. Because the question I also wanted to ask you was, doubling efforts. Did you do P&A? What was your P&A? What was your marketing like?
If Mr. Moses, I think I'm the first person that has sold merchandise, before, ever. When I did Picture Perfect with Disney, we made fabulous T-shirts, we made face cap, and it was not about, because we're selling at cost price, so it was not about making a profit. It was adopting a different kind of strategy. Okay. And so we did the same thing with Joba. We did a number of, we did a number of trailers in all the languages. We did posters saying Joba was, we did a lot. I don't really have money, but I did. But with the little that I had, I made sure that I maximized, and I feel like I did my best. Okay. Yes.
All right. I'm going straight to the audience, but just one more thing I want to find out. Moses, after the cinema, Netflix, Amazon, iTunes, yes. What is is there hope?
Yes, there's hope. And I want to encourage filmmakers to please look into this genre very well. Looking into it, yes, with business intent, but to make an impact, but also to, open up the conversation, engage the churches, maybe some thought-provoking ones. We need to have some serious...
I'm so sorry. Yeah. Engage churches. That's like the highest hurdle. So far. Yes, if Blessing was here, she told me, Ijoma, you don't want me to come and talk because I'm going to mention names. And I'm going to talk about all the churches because she told me that every big church in Nigeria, that she went there before the release of her movie. She said that she can promise me that I don't want her to come and talk here because the things she's going to say are going to be unprintable. So I don't know, maybe it's God that stopped her from coming. So this church hurdle, it's a huge how hurdle. Do we crack it?
I'll be honest, I can't answer that one. But then I really cannot answer that one.
Okay, maybe I'm sure
that's why it will be great to get the audience talk. But you asked before, yes. As long as the technical part of things is well taken care of, and you have a compelling story, I would like to like I said, because this is after my own heart personally, and with the modest privilege I have, to run a distribution platform, I'll be willing to have a conversation with
I'm
any.
coming for a conversation.
Okay, with anyone that has a faith-based, story to tell that we can do in a compelling way and use the infrastructure we already have. We'll hope that the church will support, but if they don't, it'll be great, to make a success of this. I really wanted us to do what God called it, and I think we've shown what's possible, but it will be great. But in terms of the ancillary platforms, those platforms are available. They are. I think Netflix is beginning to pick a few as well. But there's transactional VOD. As long as I believe as a content is relatable, he has an emotional connection. I feel like faith-based is something, and it can, it might have its own message, but I feel like it can easily, translate. How the War Room make, was it $70 or $80 million in the US? I don't believe it was all Christians that went to see it. So that's why I say the power of the story and having, the right values or the entertainment value in it. So I think that's what we must look at doing and incorporating into our films. But in terms of distribution, the opportunities are there.
Okay, last question for you before I go in. How do you balance, because Evangelist Mike Bamiloye was supposed to be here, but he's having a program currently that is clashing, so he really apologized because he was with us last year, and we had these conversations also. How do you balance the business side of this genre and the spiritual side of this genre? Because War Room, that is more like our case study, when you go to the credits, the prayer people,
It was incredible.
the people that were praying, so I want you to just, how, at least you are a Christian, right? And you're also a business person.
Yeah.
How, for somebody who wants to go into it, is it that you must pay attention? Because I don't know how much of fasting and maybe praying and all that went to your own movie. As far as you are approaching it from the spiritual angle, you should also know that there's going to be contention and there's going to be opposition and going to be resistance. How do you, what would you have to tell filmmakers on that?
For me, it's a...
You think it played a role,
Yeah.
To the success of War Room?
It's a delicate balance. Like, it's so difficult. I don't even know how to answer it, because I just feel like they both, you kind of are interrelated. I believe the spiritual side is very important, but you also need it to be successful to make more and to make an impact. That's where it gets very delicate. But I feel like, honestly, to do this thing successfully, I believe the spiritual side has to be on point, priority. I believe that's where I believe, and don't let us get to church today. I believe that's where you begin to get some insights, that deeper revelation on what you should do and you shouldn't do. Just looking at War Room, they were unapologetically, focused on that, prayer group, and they give them credit across various units. It showed that it was deliberate, but yet it was a studio commissioned film.
Oh.
It was Sony.
It was Sony.
It was Sony. It was Sony. So, and I hear, because we had a meeting with Sony and they brought this up, I was very impressed. A Sony studio executive sitting across the table, we're talking, and he's talking about all the various business, possibilities. And it's like, what of faith-based? We have a studio now for faith-based. And it's such a
dedicated studio.
Sorry?
They have a dedicated studio.
Yes, Sony. Like, they reported. Yes, correct. That's it, what they call. I'm like, a Hollywood studio executive is speaking to me, and there's a deliberate strategy towards this. Because of the successes of 1, 2, 3, it got me really thinking. Yes, on the business side, but I'm like, somebody has done something right here, and please God, I like to understand how, right? And that's why I'm passionate about it. And I hope that with a few partners and people that are passionate, I hope we'll be able to make something, like I said, do something that makes an impact, but that is also successful.
Okay. Do something that is impactful and successful. It has to be. So because we have to make money and also have impact, right? So now I come to you, and I want you really to address the church issue. Yes, I'm telling you what I want you to answer. I'm telling you the question that, or the comments that I'm expecting, because it is very, very, very disturbing.
I should also mention there's another person that made a faith-based, Stanley made a faith-based movie. That was Trails. Yes.
There's an empty seat here. Come.
Yeah, Stanley should come actually. Yes.
Please encourage him. Encourage him.
Yeah.
Stanley, come.
Well done. He actually did that. So he might be able to. Yeah, but I have a perspective to share.
All right. Should we take a comment from Stanley before we go? Okay.
Okay, the comment is fast. You cannot convince the churches.
Huh?
Yeah, you can't convince the churches. Practical, personal experience. We sent messages out to churches. We visited churches. Some of them did not even have the courtesy to reply to the messages. They did not even acknowledge the receipt of the messages. We did everything right. Moses is here. Correct me if there's something we did wrong.
I don't think.
Yeah. Something unfortunate happened. We had opening weekend glitches, so it really impacted on the movie. So I don't need to tell you that we didn't make so much money. But however, you cannot convince the churches, because I don't think there's a kind of cohesion and unity of vision that the churches need to have for you to buy them into this discussion. Because it's more like, if it's not coming from this church, this other church.
Do you think the US has that?
The US doesn't have that. The US is, the church in the US is more like a spiritual, secular spree, where everybody's like, okay, we're doing it. But in Nigeria, the sentiments are too much, because too many authorities, too many senior pastors, GOs, spiritual leaders, who, if you go on Facebook, you see how pastors trash each other. I'm like, come on, so how do you make a movie to address Christian faith? You understand? But will it deter me from making another movie? No. But will I be more careful about making the next Christian movie? Yes, because I will scrap out that option of the churches we support. When I went to Film 1, I had the meeting with Mimi and Moses. It was 25 minutes long, and I got a distribution date. It was in February. They gave me October 27th, I remember. So it wasn't like a big hurdle. And it's not as if it was easy. I had to prove the point. Okay, you know what? Let's see if all these things will work. You see, but again, as long as the learning curve for me is a learning, they too, they've seen the things. So one thing I'll say is that right now, straight up, don't put the churches in the equation of how you're going to make your money back. Think of other things. If they buy in later, fine. Yeah.
Wow. It's so disturbing. Okay, Theo, let me take your question.
My name is Theo, I'm a filmmaker. Concerning the churches, I was at a conference earlier this year, and some of the two producers of War Room, Kendrick and his brother, they were there. And then when they were talking, they spoke about the fact that when they wanted to make a faith-based movie, they asked themselves questions like, what is relatable? And they spoke about the fact that, let's talk about women, what they go through with their marriages, and X, Y, Z. Now, if you look at the story of War Room, a woman cheating husband, the rest of them stuff, a lot of women can relate to it. No movie that relates with so many women has ever failed. Because they are the Telemundo and Z-World people. It never fails. So that angle alone, you don't need the church. Now, I go to a church that supports movies a lot. I go to House and Rock. We've done Selma, we've done Captive, and a lot of faith-based movies in church. And they've really strived a lot. So we love movies, and we plan to make a faith-based movie very, very soon, basically. But it has to do with the storytelling. What story are you telling? You know, besides you trying to make a faith-based movie, what kind of story are you telling? If you bank on churches and say church should support this movie, we might fail, because churches have a lot of competitions amongst each other. You know, basic. So let's not bank on that. Let's make a good movie. And truth be told, a larger population of Nigerians are Christians. So if we get them to accept, if we make a good story and put it in cinemas, they'll go watch it. It's faith-based, but it's a good story and they can relate to it. You can make an impact and make your money back. Captive, as good as it was, they spent $2 million on the movie and they made just $2.7 million. You won't call that, it's profit, but it wasn't like a War Room that made $47 million and they just spent $3 million making the movie. So story is important. Have a good story that
Thank you.
people can relate with, and then you will make your impact. Let's just leave churches out of it. They
Thank you.
won't get it.
Sorry, before you answer, it is really confusing for me that we are talking about leaving churches out of the equation. Honestly speaking, House on the Rock is just like what percentage of Christians in the whole of Nigeria? Have you screened Nigerian faith-based films? That's what they are asking. The God Calling.
They screen 93 days.
No, God Calling.
And then for the Experience concert, they supported God Calling. They played the premiere at the Experience concert. We support these things. Come on, they play your trailer at the Experience, the biggest concert in Africa. Come on.
I actually wrote a letter to show the Hausa trails in House on the Rock.
Okay. Let me have Biodun respond to that. Then we
I just want to respond. How many people saw Joba? I don't know how many people saw Joba. This Joba story, you saw Joba. Joba was about childlessness. It's a relatable phenomenon. Half of the women in church are there to pray for two things: husband, child. Relatable. Everybody is going through it. So it was not a story problem. It is not that. It is not because it ticked every box you just said. It ticked it. But House on the Rock didn't screen it. I wrote. I never got a call back. They asked me one question: what church do you go to? If you want to name, let us name names. So let us do that.
Thank you, Biodun.
Okay,
next question.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I have the mic.
I have a mic here.
Oh, mic. Okay. Go ahead.
So, I actually don't have a question. I have a comment because Film One has always supported faith-based movies. In fact, Moses disturbs me, like how much we push for it. But I don't think we're actually looking at the real issue here. You have to understand that Nigeria, we're a very pretentious lot.
Very pretentious.
Very pretentious. So even when these things come up and Moses is like, oh, faith-based, I always go, oh my God, we're here again. But the Christian side of me is like, okay, I really want to push this. Do we even understand our market? Even House on the Rock. To be honest, every film that we've screened on House on the Rock has not done well. Birth of a Nation, Selma. 3 days, thank you. So if we don't even...
I understand.
I'm telling you, every movie that we've screened in House on the Rock has not done well.
Is there a correlation?
In the cinema. Yes, because Nigerians do not like anything close to their reality to go to the cinema to see. It's not even about faith-based. Political films. If it's even drama, that's why we should never use King of Boys. Because even when King of Boys kind of like, okay, I'm afraid, or it's drama, are we going to make it? Some people always say, oh, Film One is always pushing comedy. You don't even know how many dramas we released last year. And you don't know about it, but yet you know about comedy. So if we do not understand our market, as much as Nigerians, we love to pray there's a church on every street, Nigerians do not like to hear movies that are even mentioned in the church. Because automatically they connect it that is religious and they're not going to watch it in the cinema. We've had this debate many times. We've had people in our offices that have gone to each church. That lucky this thing, which church didn't they go to for breakthrough? Thank God for Pastor Goke, because I don't even know how we would have done it then. So I don't know if solving the problem is a good story. Good story is not the problem. Let's never even address that issue, because we all know Joba, even the 10 virgins as well, that was a story. But if we do not understand what our market even likes, that's why Tyler Perry does it so well. He'll make you laugh, but there's a message. And that's why anybody that's come to our office, I always tell them, I love that you want to address this Christian faith, but we have to paint it under a lot of... Paint it. If you tell a Nigerian you're coming straight to watch a Christian movie, no. But if you know that it's just a movie and somehow you get a message from it, somehow a Nigerian is going to say, it touched me. Let's go and watch. That's how it is. So that's my comment.
So, sorry, Nimi, do you think that also impacted God Calling? Having the title, God in it?
It was funny enough, that actually came up. The cinemas actually mentioned that just for that God Calling being inside, people were like, I bet Christian film. It actually came up because we always ask the cinema floor managers, like, how people are engaging with films. And yes, it was just like how Mr. Patrick Lee said, which was in a title, and it turned people away. It's those type of things that come up.
So, Mimi, yes, we work together and we have a lot of these banters. So are we saying, like, unashamedly, faith-based film that also has Jesus, the gospel, inserted in it won't work in Nigeria?
I'm saying that we need to approach it in a different way.
How?
No, that's what I said. Like how Tyler Berry has done it. We need to look at it and we need to paint it.
So we should forget the genre faith-based.
So
is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, but that's what I'm saying.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I am saying.
For us to push it.
For us to make that impact. Wait now.
We'll
for us to make that. So we always
talk
have this
professionally
argument.
offline.
No, but can I finish my point? To be honest, in my church, Harvesters, there's a way they will always invite you to come to church for a comedy show. But and to be honest, every time we've had a comedy show, it's full to the brink. But somehow you're living that experience filled with the Spirit afterwards. There's a reason why they do it, and our pastor always says it, that we always do it this way in order to get the numbers in. Because he understands the market that he's dealing with. He knows what it is. They always say our church is very oyibo, but somehow you feel the Spirit no matter when you walk into that room. And there's something he's done. I am for faith-based film any day. I have watched the whole Tyler Berry back and forth. Any TDJ, I have. But look at Jumping the Broom. Look at that. I will push for faith-based, but unfortunately in the market that we're in, you cannot print on top of it faith-based. Just say, I'm coming for a different spiritual experience. That will probably get people into the door. That's what I'm saying. So, God, please don't reduce my salary.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
Me?
Yes.
My name is Willis Ikedum. I'm a filmmaker. I'm going to add to what she said. Right now, I have 13 episodes of a TV series. It's going to launch soon. I also have a movie about the same. It's called Pastor's House. Right? So now that's kind of the kind of movies how I test my audience from the script level is I sent to even Muslims, and they read it and enjoyed it and they got the message. The message that was passing was straight, but like she said, I painted it with kinds of entertainment and all that. It was a pastor. Don't get me. It's a pastor and his house, and office, and everything that happens. But it's something that a Muslim, one of the script editors read. She's a Muslim. She read it and understood everything. I was worried at the point, like she wouldn't understand some of the things that she understood everything and got the point. When I called her, the first line she gave was what I wanted the audience to take home with.
So
what I'm saying is, what she said is you have to look at what can appeal to the audience, or what is appealing to the audience, and then have this your faith base put in it, embedded in it. Where they watch it, after watch, you have a message that you want to pass.
Is that not what Jodo did?
Right? So, but I'm saying, yeah, she did it. What she said now.
Because even Job herself doesn't bring faith base.
Yeah, what she said now. No. What she said now, she said they come to pray. They come to pray for husband, and will a Muslim really understand that you are coming to pray for children or husband?
Why not?
I'm just asking.
Why not?
Okay, so you have to. These are the things you have to put in it. Consider when you're making the film.
When people are going through those kind of challenges, they go anywhere. Whether it's church.
Okay. Stanley's film with Idahosa, I watched it.
Yeah, it's a biopic.
It was a biopic.
Yeah.
So it was not poached as faith-based. It was interesting to just watch the life of the great Idahosa and his journey. Regardless, it was such a fascinating film. It's not because I don't know the man. I don't even think he knows who I am. But you see, the point is, I went for the screening and I watched it. So it was so interesting. But the point is that a lot of people, just because they wrote Idahosa, he is faith-based, give the film a chance.
So why it's not working? Are you going?
What if the Idahosa inside it is Shango something?
So it's not working. What Mimi is saying is it's not working. That our pattern is not working.
So I think
the church thing is not working. So what do? Should we stop telling faith-based movie? No.
Okay, so I think what you're saying is that we should.
No, that's the series. That's the series. No, that's the series. That's not the film. The film has another title.
But what I'm saying, I think we're trying to get here is we should understand the peculiarities of our market.
Yes, that's it. Understand it.
Hollywood, US, they are very peculiar. The churches there are coming together. There's cohesion, and that's not happening here. So the question we must get at from here is, how do we solve that? That's it.
So how do you
Victor, let me take your question, please.
Yes. First off, I wanted to ask why we didn't invite any church,
Sorry, we didn't hear what you said.
representative of any church, and this is my reason. We can't just conclude that we know why the churches are rejecting screening the films. They might have their own reasons. And that reason might just be as genuine as the way we're expressing our concern, that they didn't accept it. I mean, there was a time in my church that we didn't allow external
We're
cameras.
not talking about screening in church. Telling people to go to cinema.
A lot of people say
church
they
screening.
go to churches to go and screen. I've also talked to people, my colleagues in the industry, who have
No,
made
there are two
faith-based
different
films.
revenues.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about now.
Okay.
So they may have their own reasons for not allowing a film they don't know about, they don't know who made the film, to come and screen in their church. Again, even announcing to tell members to go and watch the film. I mean, we shouldn't blame the churches. You cannot make a film as your business and then depend on the announcement in churches to get people to go and watch your film. You made that film as a business for yourself. You did not consult the church before you made the film. They didn't give you a go-ahead. Did you consult them to say, can I make this film, or when I finish, I will come and put an announcement in your church? Did they give you a go-ahead? So what I'm saying is that when we make a film, of course, producers, like myself, when our film bumps in the office, we blame everybody but ourselves. Mm-hmm. We see reasons why it didn't do well. The distributor is a wizard. The cinemas are this, that. But ourselves, we did everything perfectly. I'm just saying that we should find a balance when we blame people or when we blame organizations for not supporting our film. Somebody was just sitting beside me here, my colleague, and she said she never heard about Jobber. And she's a filmmaker. She's in the industry. She said she never heard about the film. So we can say we printed merchandise, we did everything. Kudos to us. But did we really do what we should?
What is that thing that we should?
Hold on.
Publicity.
I'm coming, yes. Okay. So the same way, what I'm saying is that when we do a faith-based film, we shouldn't depend upon, when we watch War Room, we didn't hear about it from the church. It wasn't any church that told us about War Room. It wasn't any church that told us about Breakthrough.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. We saw the
pirated
whatever.
copies.
Yeah, no, not pirated copy. We saw the PI, the advertising, publicity everywhere. And
was it released in Nigeria?
Then you are told. Then that compels you. Then when you see it, it's faith-based. Okay, as a Christian, I'm compelled to go. When you see a clips of War Room, you'll be forced to go and watch the film. I'm saying, as filmmakers, we do our best. We work in Nigeria where it is so difficult to make anything happen. We use sweat and blood to make film, and then we don't get it back. Some of us can't pay school fees or house rent because we put our money in films. And it's not our fault. The climate we work in is so hard. It's so difficult. The terrain is so rough. But we must keep pushing. So I'm saying, let's tone down on the blame game. Let's just know that when you make a film, whether it's faith-based or anything, and then you do all that you have, you know to do, and then it still didn't work. Just relax. Look for money, make another film, and believe God. Thank you.
Good morning. So, as a film goer and as a believer, I think that one mistake a lot of Nigerian faith-based films make is assuming that a Christian is your target audience. You cannot assume that a Christian is your automatic target audience. You can't. It's because even in the churches, you have dogma clashes. You have doctrinal clashes. You're coming from CAC. I don't believe some of the doctrines of the CAC. Doesn't mean I think you're a lesser Christian. But if there are certain aspects of that in your film, I might not really relate to that. Do you get what I mean? So don't assume that because I'm a Christian, I'm your automatic audience. True. You know, to piggyback on what he said, and also I think Mimi also talked about it, your marketing. We need to devise some kind of way to market faith-based films. There needs to be a different type of marketing. Finding your real audience, not your assumed audience in the church. Because they're not going to, a church, like he rightfully said, a church is not obliged to show your film. They're not obliged to show your film. I go to David's Christian Center. We show, during Christmas season, they show some foreign, nativity films and all that. But that's it. I don't know that you can come to my church and say you want to share your film and they will agree. I don't know if that can happen. So marketing, I don't know the right marketing mix, but there needs to be some kind of targeted marketing towards faith-based films. It needs to be something that you will sit down with your marketing team and say, okay, this is what we're talking about. Who's our real audience? How can we market to them? Where do they watch their films? Do they even come to the cinema to watch? Maybe you might have to do it in special places, National Theatre, or something that is less worldly to them. So those are things you need to think about.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Jonathan. I'm happy she spoke before I got the chance to talk now. First and foremost, we are Nigerians. Then, as Christians, you find out that there's so much division that I'm an Anglican. It will be difficult for a Catholic to say, Jonathan, come to my church next Sunday. So when a product like, for example, there is a film that is, made by, a Catholic story, I might find it, I might feel, because as a Nigerian and I believe in just my own, my faith in the Anglican Communion, I will say, oh, what kind of story is he going to tell?
Vice versa.
Yes, vice versa. So what I'm saying is that, first and foremost, if we're doing a story, let's treat it as a story first. The treatment of that story should not be, oh, I'm telling it from the point of view of a Christ apostolic, or I'm telling it from the point of view as an investor, or I'm telling it from the point of view as a redeemer. First, let's tell a good story and treat it properly. And when it comes to
so how do you infuse the faith-based side into it?
For example, there is a difference between the way I would pray as an Anglican and the way someone from a Christ apostolic would pray. I would say, oh, I'd rather not go and see a film where the prayer is monotonous. Because first and foremost, you will say, oh, they pray so differently. They are so, let me just use the word, they are so energetic with their prayers, and while maybe this other faith is so solemn with the way they address their prayers. So I might find it difficult to go and sit in a movie where I believe, I'm assuming that they are going to pray the way I see them pray. And first and foremost, and another thing is that when I go to a cinema to see a film, first the story, then I want to be entertained. And treatment, again, matters. You can have a great story, and you treat it from your point of view as a Christian of this faith, and I might see it like, oh, that's not what I want to go and see. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I think I might have a solution to this, right? Like I told you, I had my own issues and all that. One thing I did with my own movie was, when it was in the cinemas, I now created watermarked version of the movie, and I got all the email addresses of the people I had invited to come and see, and those I wanted to show in their churches. So apart from the emails and all that and the physical letters, I actually sent links with watermarks. So if I see them anywhere, I know that the one I sent go to this church, so to preview. Right? You see, like someone said, I'm not obliged to show something I don't know about, I've never seen. But if someone has the leverage of seeing it ahead of time, so in my own case, let me attack my own self. So if I wanted to make a faith-based movie next time, and I'm taking all our conversations into cognizance, what I'll most likely do is, I finish my movie maybe like 2-3 months before it's supposed to hit the cinema, get the chance to send those screeners. Because even distributors have never seen the movie. Let's go back to Nigeria before now. Those days when people were making the first movies I went to see, now they don't finish and say, guy, I put them for cinema on a normal level now. You understand? So it's the same thing. If we had the time to create specialized screeners for special groups of people who want to patronize the movie, then the question of, oh, we've not seen it, we're not obliged to show it, will not come up. So I think I'm looking at solutions now. That's one thing that could help. So more people have the chance to have seen the movie before it hits the cinema. So that means because of they've seen it before. So the same thing your first weekend would have done for you, that word of mouth. It happens before it even hits the cinema. And then you have more people who might be interested based on the word of mouth from the senior person who has seen it.
Thank you. We're going to round up very soon. Okay, that question. But before I take that question, don't we also think that some sort of advocacy to churches may work?
No. Hello? Eh?
Yes, because you can't ignore them.
Because it's a niche market.
That hasn't worked so far. Doesn't mean that they should be ignored.
But it's still a niche market.
Because it's a niche market, yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, please go ahead. Yeah.
My name is D.M. Yokolawon. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Since everybody's plugging their churches, I go to Covenant Christian Center. Now, you would agree that I probably have had more interaction with movie audiences than most people in this room, barring the distributors. I've been in quite a few movies that I've shown in cinemas, and I've stood, behind the counter to promote films, to sell our movies to Nigerians. And at some point, I got very discouraged because I was hearing the same thing over and over again, and that thing has an effect on you. The reason I'm coming at it from this angle is because I don't necessarily think this is a faith-based movie issue. I just think it's a Nigerian movie issue. And Nigerians tend, when they go to cinemas, and they speak to me. In fact, somebody came to me, I tried to sell a ticket, but it's like, no, I don't want Nigerian films. But the person that came and I said, can I take a picture with you? I said, no, I don't take Nigerian pictures. I'm sorry, petty, but yeah. And I've seen that happen. A few years ago, I spoke to some of my friends in the bigger companies. I will not mention the names of the companies. And I said to them, look, we have a marketing problem as an industry. And if you look back, I think it was in the 70s or so, when the tobacco companies in America, they actually came together to make sure that they sold tobacco to the American public. It wasn't anything that was well known per se. They would get into movies, they were using Hollywood, they were using a lot of different tactics. Doctors as well, they were doing a lot of things. And I think it's time that we sit down and come up with a campaign for Nollywood.
That's it. And
it's so easy. It is so easy. Because if all you do at the basis, at the very, very base level, is to just put on the screen before every movie that shows in Nigeria and all cinemas, watch a Nollywood movie today. Thank you. If that's all you do, in a creative way, that would start to paint a picture, a different picture, so that when you, I wish to never ever hear Nollywood. No, I don't do Nollywood films. And they pain me, Secondly, and please, I'll just end with this. Specifically for faith-based movies. Well, not specific. For movies generally, you really want to have a tribe, a target audience, which is fine. If your movie is a chick flick, your audience are chicks. So you have to align your marketing to that. Our churches in Nigeria, obviously very fragmented. People believe different things. So, the same way we would have movies when you want to do your opening day, your opening weekend, you want to push everybody to go see your movie opening weekend, so you have enough word of mouth. I think it's time we start to figure out, maybe align with one big church. And this is just a suggestion. One big church that has the kind of numbers they're talking about. Go and sit down with them from inception. Create a tribe that own your film.
Part
so
of
to
the
speak.
scripting also,
maybe even
that
shoot the thing inside their church. And there are churches that have thousands and thousands of followers that hopefully, I've never done it, it's just a suggestion. If it does happen, perhaps those people will follow that movie to the cinema, and then having seen it, they'll start to do word of mouth.
And they will also endorse it before,
word of
not
mouth.
after.
Before, after, during.
Thank you. So we take that last question. And sorry.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah,
then I'll come to you. Okay.
Yes. So I wanted to say something with regards to the conversation about churches. So I'm not a professional in this regard in any way, shape, or form, but I would like to think that the aim of faith-based movies would be conversion, would be people that don't know of the faith to find out about the faith. If that is one, if that, not necessarily, not in the whole situation, okay. But I think the idea of targeting churches kind of limits a vast amount of audience. People like stories. People like stories that are relatable. It's easier to convince people to come into where you are, into your faith, if it's relatable. If it's not bland, we are trying to convert you. If it's, this is a cool movie, watch it. And then you go thinking about it and maybe get converted. I think Nigerians are, at least the faith-based movies I've seen in these parts are pretty bland. And so it's like, you imagine you're a young kid in university and it's a Friday night and you want to go to a club or they are doing night vigil. Or you want to go to a club and they are doing variety night in church and, you know, the pastor will preach, but you're likely to go to the variety night and then get inspired and probably get converted than go to the night vigil. The night vigil is bland. So I think that is just my own idea behind the whole thing.
So so you're saying that in terms of tactics, in terms of strategy, we need to look into that.
So we are going back to Mimi's.
Going back to Mimi. Yes, let me take your question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tosi. I work with Film One.
Okay, Tosi.
Primarily on the 20th Century Fox account. Distributed Breakthrough, obviously.
Oh, you are the manager of Breakthrough?
No, I work on the 20th Century Fox account.
Okay,
yes.
Okay.
A number of things I want to say, to be honest, is connected to everything everybody has been saying in terms of faith-based films. I do not. I'm going to try and come from a consumer point of view because I do not identify to any religion or faith per se, and I kind of agree with what the lady over there was saying about targeting your audience, your markets, basically, targeting your films to not just the faith people, but to the general markets as well. Because again, Nigerians, like Mimi has said, Nigerians are very pretentious and do not subscribe to our stories in a way. So again, another thing that I wanted to say is a lot of the things that we've been talking about in the summit as being interrelated, interconnected, even from what Michael was saying on the first day about marketing and what MB was saying today about making your film an event film. So you want to also combine these factors whilst you're trying to make a film and also put your film out there to the audience, because marketing is so essential to making your film a success. And the struggle we face, even from making Breakthrough into what's made in Nigeria, because even besides Pastor Goke, we try to reach out to some gospel artists as well to try and push on their platforms. But marketing is so essential because you want to make your film that even regardless of it being a faith-based film, and regardless of it having a niche audience, you want to be able to connect to a global and national consumer-based people. So I guess in summary, basically, marketing for me for faith-based films, marketing is very important. For producers, coming to that point where you're saying you're making not just films that are Christian, but also entertaining. Entertainment is very important for customers. We don't want to go to the cinema and be like, oh my God, Jesus. But we also want to be entertained. It's such an important, it's not stressed enough that entertainment is so key whilst you're making a film. And also marketing is another element that we also need to put into play from the inception of our project.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, I'm seeing more hands up. What do we do? I will have another session coming. They're supposed to come up already now. I've been timed. But let me just take this too. Okay, okay, please just try and make it very brief. 1 minute. In 3 minutes, we should be done. But just before you answer, I just think that the church has neglected entertainment to a very large extent. Both on the money, on the business side and on the impact side, entertainment is a mountain. It's critical to any agenda that you want to push, whether you like it or not. So, and it has been hugely overlooked. And I think that what Dewumi said is we need to also make an advocacy to churches to take entertainment seriously. Yeah. Biola.
Praise God. I think filmmaking is dynamic. My name is Biola Adenuga from Pefti Film Institute. There are so many ways we can do this thing. I agree, yes, you could decide, take the church out of the equation. I also think you could attack it. Take you an example. 911, there's a song with T.D. Jakes. I love T.D. Jakes. I love the quality of his voice, his timbre. For him alone, I listened to that song. Is there a movie with Adeboye in it? Is there a film with Kale Jaye in it? Is there a film with these controversial pastors, say Okotie, taking a role in a film? Where I'm going to is, if you want to go to the church, go hard. They have their people, the people they want to watch. You put a movie with Adebo in it, my guy. You will beg people to. So, where I'm going to, if you want to go church, go church.
Really agree.
Go hard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I quickly add this, please? Can I quickly add this?
20 seconds, you've spoken.
Yes, I have.
I have people who have spoken.
Charles Novel produced a film called The Covenant. The Covenant is like a biopic of Pa Adeboye. He spoke in that movie. That movie did not sell.
But maybe it's a biopic, it's not entertainment. Let's take the next question, please.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Florence Okechukwu. For starters, I have two things to say. First off, I feel like when you make a film, sometimes we kind of get carried away and we have this entitlement mentality. We make a film and we think that a group of people owe it to us to go see our films. I think that's really wrong. I feel like if you make a faith-based film and you automatically expect a church to support you, or the church to support you, it's like making a comedy and expecting Ali Baba to put on his projector saying that, oh, this film is in the cinema, go and see it. I feel like it's the same thing. So I feel we need to purge ourselves of that. If you're making a film, make a film because you are dying to tell a story and you're hoping that people will go see it and they will see what propelled you to make that film in the first place. Then secondly, I feel like we don't understand the weight the trailer that we make for our film carries. I am sorry, I saw Joba's trailer, and I'm sorry I never went to see it. Why? Because I was depressed after seeing it. I just kept seeing people crying, a girl crying over and over again. And I remember watching it with a few friends, and they were like, with all the things where they this country, person will go sit down, they watch, and that person, they cry. I beg, I no one watch. So we need to work on our trailers. I know that in developed countries, there are actually people who sit down to cut trailers. That's what they do. Maybe we should start looking at specialization. If that's what you're going to do, sit down and cut very good trailers. I saw God's Calling trailer, and a lot of people are like, I'm going to go and see it. A guy fall from the 3rd Mainland Bridge. My God, I got to see it. But, that's what, propelled some people to go see it. So I feel like we need to concentrate on our trailers, because that's the first message you're sending out there.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Desalu. Just to piggyback on what she said, and I think that if you look at Tyler Perry's movies, I'm not sure that a Muslim or someone of another faith would watch it and would not watch it, right? But then I know we've been speaking particularly about churches and what happens to the Muslims, what happened to other faiths, right? So still going back to storytelling. How do I tell my story in such a way that I never even mention or I never over-obsess about the particular faith I'm talking about? Meaning, I need to be very dynamic in telling my story that I am speaking to your morals rather than trying to convince you to move to another faith. Because the moment you start to do that, someone said, I think it was Mimi, we're very pretentious. Even the Christians will still fight you. But then when you start to talk about morals, start to talk about ethics and things that really change you, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, you want to go see it, you want to go watch it. So maybe it will start from the trailer, like she said. I know that DME also mentioned about how you can approach the church and maybe go behind one church, and that church then leads the effort. That's also another way to look at marketing it. So the point I'm saying is that let's talk about morals.
Thank you. The last question.
My name is Joshua Rotimi. Now, I want to say we should treat, for faith-based movies, we should treat it as a bigger genre, because we have denominations that have different beliefs. So it's just like a CAC person. Let's say that's a horror movie. If I won't watch horror movies no matter what. So if your story has an infusion of CS in it, I won't go and watch it because I don't like horror movies. If you're a Sele person, if the film's about Sele, I might not also watch it because I really don't buy into the idea. So to actually make money is about numbers. If your movies geared towards Sele people, just know that you can't get more than the amount of Sele people to watch your movies. So if you have 20 Sele people, you can't make more than maybe 20,000 if your movie is 1,000.
So if it's about redeemed, you
understand?
have to paint it.
So if you want more numbers, okay, no more power from Redeem. Paint your movie in the Redeem and sell it to them. You understand? Now, if you want to make more money, like to cover everybody, you want to pick Redeem, you want to pick a seller, you want to pick everybody, then write your story, pick a story that will cover all the genres. So if you really want to make money, make your story
universal for the church.
So that's just.
Thank you very much. I want to say thank you. It's been very, very engaging. I'm just going to take last word from everybody on this panel, and then we call it a wrap. Please, 1 minute.
All right. To be honest, I'm hopeful that we've learned one thing or two. I've taken notes, and thank you so much. For me, the learning process has been just listening to what we've had to say. I think that's been a real blessing. You know, I've heard things like choose a tribe. I think that was really great to hear. Heard things like, you know, storytelling and storytelling techniques, you know, and marketing. Thank you for what you said about the assets and trying to promote a film. I think what I would just like to say is, for those of us that are interested in this space, we should continue to engage. We should continue to have real conversations about it. And I think we should continue to actively, you know, do something about it. It's a delicate balance, like I said, impacting and making money. But people have done it before and are doing it very well, and it's worked. And I totally get understanding our audience, but it would be really great to see this work in a country like Nigeria. I think the country needs it.
I think for me, it's just regardless of the experience with the film, if there's a story to be told, faith-based or not, I'll keep trying to tell that story, regardless, whether or not it's faith-based or it is. And I think that even when I make our next faith-based film, I will be unashamedly proud that it's a faith-based one. I'll sell it as that.
Thank you.
Okay, so all I'll just say is whatever makes you happy as a creative person, go ahead and do it, whether it's faith-based. The guy who said he doesn't watch horror movies, my horror film, they come out, so go watch them, I beg you. If I had my way, I'll make only horror movies in my life because I love them. But bottom line is, don't tag yourself a faith-based filmmaker. You're a filmmaker. You make everything. I make horror. I make very dark movies. I prefer them to comedy self. But I still made a faith-based movie, right? But I'm not a faith-based Christian filmmaker. Don't tag yourself unnecessarily. That's all I have to say. And finally, we should just go out there and do what we love to do. People might not catch up now, but eventually they'll catch up. Thank you.
Thank you so much.